As long as but 100 of us remain alive, never will we, on any conditions, be brought under English rule. It is in truth not for glory, nor riches, nor honours that we are fighting, but for freedom, for that alone which no honest man gives up, but with life itself.
This is the most quoted statement from the Declaration of Arbroath, written in 1320. The Declaration, written to Pope John XXII, contested King Edward's claim for lordship over Scotland. The Declaration was signed with the seals of 50 noblemen, arguing for Scotland's sovereignty and cultural distinction from England.
The Declaration talks about Scotland being a sovereign nation, and how this is known by the chronicles and books of the ancients. But near the beginning of the Declaration, it implies the journey of Princess Scota, along with her husband Gaethelos, from the Middle East to Scotland.
Travelling by land from Egypt, across the Tyrrhenian Sea, and through the Pillars of Heracles, arriving at their destination. Although we can't be sure that the journey actually did take place, its mention in the Declaration suggests that the authors took this legend as fact. A small group of refugees did traverse all of Europe, and so begins the story of Scotland. And it all started with one Egyptian woman's determination and hope that pushed her forward to find a better life for herself and for her people.
Scota was from the Kingdom of Egypt, ravaged by civil war. People were dying all over her land. Everywhere there was turmoil, the crops were failing. People who were not caught up in war were dying from starvation. Men, women and children all across the land succumbed to sickness and even more death. Scota's homeland was being destroyed, and there was nothing she could do. Scota knew that if she and her followers remained in Egypt, they would all perish like her fellow countrymen. Scota had only one option: to flee her home, save herself and her small band of followers. She took to the road, heading north, leaving her homeland behind. Scota would never see Egypt again.
Scota decided to lead her people to Greece, a place where they could find refuge and be safe. Their journey north took them through Palestine, Syria and Lebanon, lands ravaged by war and turmoil. On from Lebanon, through Turkey, war and death were everywhere. Finally, after a long and perilous journey, they arrived in Greece, a place where she could finally feel safe.
Greece was full of refugees and strays from all over the region, some of whom were from Egypt, her homeland. All these people were also looking for safety and a place to live in peace. But they were being forced to stay in camps, small communities locked away from the peace and the sanctuary they were looking for.
Greece was not the place they were expecting.
Maybe it wasn't a wasted journey. Call it luck or call it fate. In this awful place full of peoples who had no place to go, Scota met and married a man by the name of Gaethelos. Gaethelos came from Scythia, a land to the northeast of the Black Sea. Gaethelos had arrived in Greece with a small band of his own followers. They decided to join their groups together with a combined quest to find a place somewhere in the world that Gaethelos, Scota and all their followers could live in peace.
They both knew that they couldn't remain in Greece due to the danger and the squalor of the camps. It was too much for them to stay. Soon after Gaethelos and Scota got married, they decided to leave Greece.
They took a small boat and embarked on their quest to find a land for their people.
This was to be a long and perilous journey. across the Tyrrhenian Sea, west across the Mediterranean and out through the Pillars of Heracles, modern day Gibraltar, and into the vast ocean. Scota knew the dangers that such a vast expanse of water posed on their little boat, so they made land on the western Iberian coast, their new intended homeland.
History was repeating itself. Just like Greece, Iberia was not the place they were hoping for. But instead of being too crowded, the local inhabitants were not welcoming and became hostile towards them. Nonetheless, they did try and integrate with the local inhabitants. They wanted to be friends and coexist, wanted to set up a homeland on the coast. But the locals became more and more aggressive towards them. Fearing for the safety of themselves and their followers, Scota decided this was not the place they were looking for. They agreed to flee, taking their boats again, heading north into more unknown encounters and dangers, looking for a homeland. The little boat, full of cold, hungry followers, eventually made land. Although at this point they did not know where they were, they didn't care. The long, arduous journey would have been very hard for everyone. Geithalos turned to help Scota from the boat. It was too late. The great journey which Scota started a long time ago in Egypt had been too much for her. Scota died on the shores of her promised land.
Scota's struggles were not rare for that time. In fact, they're not rare in 2020 either. The differences appear in how such a story would be perceived today. In modern times, a woman like Scota would be vilified for not being ethnically Scots. In 1320, Scota's story is not only legendary but incredibly important to us. Catholicis was seen as the father of the Gaels, but we bear the name Scots from her. Scota is the legendary mother of the very idea of Scotland. Without this Egyptian refugee from 3,000 years ago, there would not be a Scot.